Hey there, creepy peeps. My name is Nightmare Maven and I love talking about horror movies. I also apparently love feeling overwhelmed and taking a week off from making videos again. So thank you for bearing with me for that. If you're new here, hi, welcome. I hope you stick around. We have a fun time here. We talk about horror. What's not to love? If you're returning, welcome back. I really appreciate you coming back. This might be a longer video, so I'm gonna go ahead and just quickly thank my creepy patron peeps for supporting my channel. Thank you guys so much. If you want to find out the perks to being a creepy patron peep, the link is always in the description. I have annual memberships now. You get 2 months free if you sign up for an annual membership, and you can check out all the perks on the Patreon page. Okay, so streaming services, they're a thing. So I thought I would grade the streaming services based on their horror content. I don't know if this is gonna be fun or entertaining. I just thought it would be interesting to kind of take a look at what each streaming service has to offer and just kind of grade it based on a couple of criteria, which I'll talk about in a second. If you wanna go ahead and just skip to me going through all the streaming services, you can jump to here. It should be linked in the description as well. If you're still here, I'm gonna quickly talk about the criteria I'm grading these streaming services on. Really simple, the first being the size of their horror selection, because these are all streaming services that offer a whole bunch of different genres of movies, and like the ratio of like older classics to like hidden gems to newer movies. Of course, I'm going to be mentioning the subscription price for each of these because I feel like that is also an important factor, like the quality of content versus how much or how little you're paying for it. And then at the end, I think I'll kind of like summarize like what I think is the best overall streaming service, what's the best if you're like more of a seasoned horror fan. And the only thing I mean by that is that you've been a horror fan for a long time and you've already consumed a lot of horror versus maybe somebody who just who is just starting getting into the genre and they don't know where to start. Also, really quick, because I feel like I'm gonna get comments about this, I am not going to be talking about Shudder in this video. The only reason is because Shudder is a horror only streaming service, while all of the other ones I'm going to talk about, like I said, have all the movies. They have comedy, they have romance, whatever. And I don't think it's fair really to compare them. So that's the only reason they're not included, in case anybody were wondering. So I'm going to start off with the big guns and with Amazon specifically. So Prime Video. This one is a little bit, well, it's not tricky to talk about, but it's a little bit different in that you have the movies that are included with your Prime membership, so you don't have to add on any extra costs. It is worth noting that Amazon does have channels that will include certain titles, but you have to pay extra for that. So the price of the different channels varies, but it's just noted that it's added on in addition to your Prime membership, which is $13 a month. It could be even more costly if you add on these extra channels. So I'm gonna focus mostly on what's included with Prime. Obviously that includes a whole lot of other things though, because Amazon is just a huge retailer that sells literally everything. So there are other benefits like shopping benefits that come with that $13 a month, but just looking at Prime Video, I'm seeing some like good classics, like The Descent, Death Proof. I know a lot of people like Night of the Demons, the original, which is great, Cabin in the Woods, and some new ones like Crawl. This one I haven't heard of. Gretel and Hansel, Midsommar, all included with Prime, which I feel like is pretty good. So if you're trying to catch up on some of the newer releases that people talk about, you're covered. I see some classics. I see some other like older movies in here, some that I don't recognize, which is always exciting. The last thing I want to do when I come to a streaming service is just see a whole bunch of movies that I've seen already. Some that I think are overlooked, like The Ruins, The Love Witch, also I think it's overlooked a lot. Cooties is another great one. So I mean, so far it's a pretty nice selection. I feel like they're kind of leaning more into the newer stuff. Like I haven't noticed as many older movies. I guess maybe as I click through I'm seeing a few more, but it's a lot of newer movies. They're also starting to dip their toes into original horror movies. They've been doing original content for a while. I feel like the first really big one was the Suspiria remake, but this is their partnership with Blumhouse. That's exciting too. I don't think it's a huge catalog of original content. I think they have a whole lot more television that is Amazon original. I'm not really judging the TV too much, but just quickly looking at it, I mean, they've got a big hitter here with Buffy. Some that I haven't heard of. I know Grimm is a popular one. I never watched this one. I don't know how much American Horror Story they have. Lore is a really good one. Teen Wolf I know is pretty big. I mean, there's some fun series in here also. I'd say that's pretty good. In terms of the stuff that you have to rent, it's a lot more of like the older stuff, the older, more well-known stuff, like not so much overlooked, that you get from renting, which I mean a $3.99 rental fee isn't the most expensive. Some ones that people love, Trick or Treat, Saw, The Howling. It's interesting. I would have thought it would have been the other way around. I still think you can get a lot out of just the horror movies included. So I think overall, Amazon, I would probably give like a B, maybe a B+. Like, it's not the worst. They've got a really good selection, I think, just included in Prime alone, and at least they're kind of upfront, especially as you're scrolling through. I know these designations didn't used to be here. I like that you can now see upfront like ones that you're gonna have to pay extra for and ones that are included. So we like that. I'd say a B or a B+. Next one I'm gonna talk about here is Hulu, just because it's a little similar to Amazon in that there are some channels on this. I haven't looked into it too much, like how many different channels they have you can add on to Hulu, but I think, to my knowledge, it's the same as Amazon, where it's an extra fee on top of like already what you're paying for Hulu. This one does give you an option for membership. Their cheapest one I think is $6 a month, and you do get ads. You can increase to $12 a month for no ads. They also have a live TV option, which is really expensive. It's like $60 a month. But that's just if you want to watch live TV, which I don't have that desire to do. We're just talking about horror. So I feel like they also have a really good selection of newer horror movies, ones that are exclusive to Hulu but not necessarily part of their Into the Dark series. I think that's also really important to note. They have a long-running series, Into the Dark, which is also in association with Blumhouse. Somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure. So I feel like alone, just for like that $6 a month to get a guaranteed new horror movie every month is pretty good. I don't know that they have any plans to stop that. I think there was a little bit of a pause in that because of COVID-19, but I will say though, I don't think their selection of stuff that's not Into the Dark isn't as big. I think their indie horror is where they excel. Like, there's a lot of really good ones in here, ones that I would really recommend, like The Field Guide to Evil, Pyewacket, The Clove Hitch Killer, Ghost Stories, Tragedy Girls. I think these are all really great indie movies. I don't think they have the best selection of like they say here, blockbuster horror movies. I think I could get a lot of these elsewhere. So I don't necessarily know that Hulu is worth that like ad-free price for horror alone. I think Hulu does really well with TV. I mean, it looks to me like they have a pretty decent selection of anime too. So if you're really into anime, maybe this is a good place to come, at least for like the bigger anime shows. I don't know about like any deep cut like horror animes, but that $6 price, you still get ads on that. I think that's worth noting, because I'm totally fine with ads if the service is free, which we will talk about later, hint hint. That doesn't sit quite right with me. So I think for that reason, I'd give Hulu like a C or like a C-. Moving on to the next huge giant is Netflix. I feel like this was just like the the beginning of the huge streaming services was Netflix. I think they're still like kind of the tried and true. Everybody has a Netflix / has access to a Netflix account. I think they have a really, really good selection of horror movies. The most important thing I think for me is that Netflix is so regular with updating their catalog. Like at the end of each month, you can Google like what's coming to Netflix, and people will just like legit like write blog posts and articles detailing what's leaving and what's coming in the new month. I like that it's a regular thing that they're constantly updating their catalog, especially for the price. Netflix is a little bit different in that I think like the real big reason for the increase in price, I think there's 3 different price tiers, is the quality of video. Most expensive price now they've just increased is $18 a month, with the lowest price being $9 a month. And I think there's like a middle one in there at like $12 or $13. But I really like the selection. I think they have a really good selection of non-original content that gets updated constantly. I do really like, I mean, I'm a sucker for like the categories, because sometimes I don't really know what to watch, but I know I want to watch a certain type of movie. That sort of thing like really appeals to me. I also think they're killing it with the original content. I think they're quite possibly the only streaming service that has other genres that has the most like original horror content. And not all of it is that bad. I feel like they've had some bangers. I think they have quite a good selection of like the classics, like right now, like, and sometimes you notice that they acquire a certain franchise. Like right now it looks like they have all of the Child's Play you could watch, maybe a lot of the Leprechauns. So if you were looking to looking to refresh yourself on some of these franchises, Netflix is a good place to check. I feel like they also have some, I don't want to say lesser known classics, but like overlooked maybe, like Tales from the Hood. I feel like they do fairly well too with international horror content also, which I really appreciate. I think in terms of like the new blockbuster movies, they don't necessarily have all those, like you don't see any like Midsummer, you don't see any Gretel and Hansel, that sort of thing. But I feel like they're a really good place to come for kind of like deep cuts, overlooked horror movies that aren't necessarily like old or like classics, but you know what I mean. So honestly, like I would give Netflix an A for their horror content. I think they kill it. I guess, should we look at TV shows really quick since we're kind of doing this? I don't really come to Netflix for horror TV, but I just want to see maybe what they have. Now that I'm looking at it though, they have a lot more original horror series than I knew of. Like if you just asked me to name some off the top of my head, I would have said Stranger Things and The Haunting of Hill House and The Haunting of Bly Manor. I can't speak to like the quality of these. I mean, that would all just be my opinion anyway, but I'm definitely going to be coming back here to take a look at some of these. So yeah, okay, glad we looked at that. I'm definitely coming back here. I also wanted to talk about HBO Max because I feel like that one's been getting a lot of attention lately because they've kind of had the exclusive for some of these new releases, like Godzilla vs. Kong, if we're gonna like, that's kind of like horror adjacent, the New Mutants, stuff like that. So I haven't scrolled through the horror section on HBO Max yet, so this is the first time, so this will be fun. So I mean, just looking at new and notable, a good selection, I think, of ones that people would come for. Scream, obviously love The Conjuring, Bram Stoker's Dracula, love that already. Final Destination, From Dusk Till Dawn. I mean, just looking at this is a really good selection. Like The Lost Boys, The Craft. I would definitely send like a new horror fan to these movies. Like these are a lot that I would recommend. So that's really exciting. Trending terrors. I don't know what their definition of like trending is, like people talking about these recently. I don't really know. They've got some like deep cuts on here, like Hexen and Vampire. They also got The Invisible Man, which is amazing. I'm noticing a lot of like older horror movies, maybe ones that the horror community at large talks about a lot, which might be good for new horror fans if they want to be part of conversations and want to know what somebody's referencing when they talk about Misery or something, this might be a really good place to go. Or Jacob's Ladder, like they have some really good ones on here. Occult University, educate yourself in the dark arts. I love everything about that. I haven't seen like most of these, but I'm definitely coming back to this area. I love this. This is great. Cool. You'll Die Laughing. Okay, horror comedies. Shaun of the Dead, a classic. Is The Lost Boys a horror comedy? American Werewolf in London. I feel like that one's more like darkly funny. I wouldn't necessarily say that's a horror comedy, but okay. They got Troll and Troll 2. Okay. Little Shop of Horrors. Okay. Great expiration dates. I don't know if this is like ones that are about to leave. I'm just gonna guess that. Not a lot is leaving, which is good, right? Okay, vampire ones. They've got the Blade movies. We love that. Chronos. That's a good one. Okay. I think this is a really good selection. I'm quite impressed with this. I like the little subcategories. Cult classic creepouts. Ooh, Shocker, Willard. Dang. Okay. All right, so like for being the first time I'm scrolling through their horror catalog, I'm very impressed. They don't have a lot of new things, which is fine, but they have a lot of ones that maybe I would even recommend as like overlooked. I'm impressed. I don't think like series, I don't know how much, are these all the horror ones? Some of these are a bit weird. What the heck is that? I feel like their big ones are like probably Lovecraft Country, I would assume. Maybe The Outsider. I don't know if that's still popular. I do love that they have Los Spookies. If you haven't seen the show, get you a free trial of HBOmax and binge it. It's really, really good. I mean, automatically some I'm interested in just based on the cover. Phantasmagorias, I don't know what that is. Folklore, already love it. And True Bloods, I mean, that's a classic one. I think I would give it an A-. I think for the price, it's impressive. It's $15 a month for HBO Max. There's no like levels or anything like that. Wow, there's even some like classics in here that I didn't even see. Death Becomes Her, Diabolique, Eraserhead, if you want to put yourself through that. A lot of Godzilla movies. Yeah, this is impressive. I think for $15 a month, this is a good selection. Like, I'm okay with this selection for the price. Second to last one we're going to talk about here is Tubi TV, which I feel like is probably the most overlooked streaming service, especially in terms of horror. I think they have a really, really interesting selection of horror movies. I think they have those kind of like old movies, those old horror movies that, not that you don't hear about so often, but it's like they have a lot of stuff that you can only watch on Tubi. Like if you're looking for a slightly obscure older horror movie from like the 80s or the 70s or something, there's a really good chance that it's on Tubi for whatever reason. I don't know how they do it, but there are some like movies I thought I wasn't gonna be able to find anywhere that I wanted to do for a review, or somebody requested me to watch it and talk about it, and it's somehow on this platform and only this platform. So like I said, they have kind of these ones where it's like looking at the cover, I'm not inspired to watch that. Not, or like this one, but not really inspired to watch these. They also have a lot of really good horror movies. They have the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, House of a Thousand Corpses, Train to Busan. Really, really cool selection. They even put the witches in here, which I love. Is this a horror movie? It maybe if you're watching this as a kid, yes, it's quite scary. It Follows. They've got the Nick Cage Wicker Man if you want to watch Rage Cage at his prime. Ones that I really recommend is overlooked ones. The Innkeepers, Terrifier, Eden Lake, Dead End. That's a fucking great one. Never even heard of this, but I want to watch it for some reason. They have some of these newer releases that we saw so far only on like Amazon Prime. Like this. I don't really know much about this movie, but I know it's kind of brand new. I mean, look at it, like just scrolling through it, it's such a crazy selection. Like I just like would not expect it. And the reason why I'm like, I just am so impressed with this is because this is free. This is free. It's a free service. I guess your one caveat being that there are ads, but honestly, I don't give a fuck about that. If it's free and I can watch something like Train to Busan for free with 2 or 3 ad breaks, I'm fine with that. Maybe new horror fans, this is a great resource and it does not cost you anything. If you're gonna be nitpicky about ads, I guess maybe this isn't for you. I honestly don't find it that annoying, to be honest. This website has come in clutch so many times when I need to review a movie, especially like during 31 Days of Horrorween time, when I'm trying to find really weird, obscure movies. Honestly, I would give Tubi an A. All right, so last one I want to talk about is Kanopy. I'm saving the 2 free ones for last. Kanopy is also a free service. This one though uses a library card, so you have to have an active library card. It's free to get one, and if you already have one, you're set. I think this is another like unsung hero of not just horror movies, but like, I don't know, movies in general. I think they have a really interesting selection. They have a lot of stuff on here that I think would be considered like elevated horror, even though I hate that term. That's just the vibe I get. Like, I think like looking, like, I mean, like, look at these, you know what I mean? Look at the selection, just scrolling through. There's a lot of newer ones, a lot of older ones that people really love. Some ones that's like, if you want to put yourself through that to watch that, it's there. Some overlooked really good ones like Extraordinary. They have a lot of really great ones. I do like that they separated into categories. Again, I've talked about this. Like, when I don't know what I feel like watching, these things help me out so much. They have some of my faves on here, like The Witch is on here. I fucking love that movie. Southbound, I recommend that anthology all the time. What We Do in the Shadows, one of my favorites. The Love Witch. The Tale of Two Sisters. They've got some of the older ones for you here, like 70s and 80s, separated out like classics. I think this is really helpful, once again, for newer horror fans if they're starting to dive into the genre and they want to watch some of the classics, some of the influential horror films that made the genre what it is today. This is a really great place to come, and it's free. If you have a library card, it's free. They also have a decent selection of international horror, a lot of it that I've not even heard of, and this really excites me. When I first logged in, like, I was like, okay, I recognize some of these, and then there were some that I'm like, I don't know what this is, but it looks amazing and I want to watch it. So this is another one that honestly I would give an A. I would give an A. Okay, so that's everything. So here is a quick recap of all the grades I gave the different streaming services, Netflix kind of being up at the top, along with HBOmax, Tubi, and Kanopy. I think the best overall, like the most varied selection, the best bang for your buck, depending on the pricing you want to go with, I think is probably Netflix, because you have the potential there just at $9 a month to have that entire selection. And it's tried and true. They update their catalog a lot. They've got a good selection of like newer and classic horror. I honestly think HBO is a close second though, if you don't mind paying a little bit more for it. I think the best, if you are looking to get into horror, or maybe you're just trying to like expand your horror knowledge and watch a bigger variety of movies, I think Tubi and Kanopy are probably your best bets for free. If you don't mind ads, if you already have a library card, like, I don't know why you wouldn't. wouldn't get these services. I am not sponsored, by the way. If either of them want to hit me up though, I would be more than willing. Let me know your go-to streaming services in the description, in the comments section, and let me know what you think. Like, if you disagree with me, like, defend it in the comments. Like, I'm all for that. I hope you enjoyed this video though. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new here. Become a creepy peep today. I post 2 new videos a week on Tuesdays and Fridays. So I will see you Friday with a new video. Until then, stay strange. Bye.